That's right. I guess I need to sit as close to the microphone as possible, so I will do that. This is going to be purely kaleidoscopic because I want to deliver a bunch of little ideas to you that are not necessarily fully connected. And I'm hoping that even after I exit, you'll consider exercising your imagination.
I'd like to work kaleidoscopic. I'm not incoherent, Dave. I'm
Yes, you're very welcome. So, first of all, just a comment about the notion of future of text. I immediately thought about what's the pasta of text, and that must be alphabet soup. So one bad pun out of the way. Um, Another thing we talked earlier, I mentioned hyper-X for various values of X. I want you to think, what is hyper sound? What is hyper imagery? Does it mean anything? Should we want it to mean something? And think a little bit about the way in which hyper content is created. Sometimes it's created by an author who wants to use the hyper capability to steer you, to offer to you associations of things. But on the other side of that, the consumer may want to have tools that allow exploration of associations that were not intended by the writer, but which might be afforded to you by the capacity of the system to find associations for you, help you discover them. So those are two different aspects of the creation and use of HyperX. One of the things that I referred to earlier about Frodo's attempt to get tools into the hands of people and the resistance that he encounters. This is for text creation, for the text use, for example, the visual meta component of PDF, which helps us use the text better than we might otherwise. The tools that he's developed, author, reader, and visual meta, are all require skills to use effectively. And if you watch Frodo doing a demonstration using keyboard keystroking, it's like playing a musical instrument. And in a sense, we should be concerned about that in the following sense. To use these tools effectively, you have to learn how to use them. And it may be just as difficult and compelling as playing a musical instrument. You use these things, if 10,000 hours worth of use have given you skill that others might have difficulty achieving. You don't want tools that are so hard to use that people will be put off to use them, even though when you can see them being used, they're enormously compelling and powerful, just like, Pablo Casal's playing a cello. So that's not a criticism. It's an observation that makes me wonder, how do we make it easier for people to use the tools that would benefit them? One thing that immediately occurred to me about the generative AI comments and storytelling is that the speed with which the generative AI systems can produce text or imagery, or perhaps in the future sound and the like, might allow you to tell a story in real time with the help of the generative AI, which is kind of interesting. I mean, illustrations could pop up and so on. We already know people are composing stories using the generative AI. It just might not be quite in real time, but you can easily imagine that happening. The other observation about computer-based tools that we've been talking about for all these years, what our primary focus has been on organizing, assisting, and communicating thought. That's really what these tools have been for. An interesting observation about text in particular, writing in particular, is that when you write something down, it allows you to go back to see what you wrote and to make corrections and changes. And so there is a time component, which I find interesting about the act of writing. It's just like computer chipsets. If you design a computer circuit that has no memory in it, you push stuff in at the top, something happens to it, and something pops out the bottom, end of story. When you have memory in a computer-based system, suddenly an enormously larger amount of functionality is available to you. The same argument could be made for the um, substance of writing, the consequences of writing. Last point, I think, has to do with the Chat GPT stuff, which of course has taken the world by storm. And there is, in fact, it's a new tool. We could argue that it's a quirky tool, and it does things that we don't intend necessarily or don't necessarily want. But there is a discipline that's starting to emerge called prompt engineering. And if you've used the chatbots, you know that you give it a prompt, and there is a window. This is a technical term, window, in the Chat GPT or chatbots. The window is how much prompt material can it handle. The more it can handle, the more interesting the results are potentially going to be. So prompt engineering is a new tool, like a pen or a pencil. It's a way of generating text with the help of the chatbots. So I think I'm going to call that conceptual calligraphy, because that's kind of what's going on. So I'll stop there, and I'm looking forward to learning what you discuss later on today. I apologize for not being able to stay, but I have to summarize 2 days worth of Royal Society discussions on science in the interests of justice. And I can tell you this is a non-trivial task, and I've missed the morning, which means that I'll have to make things up to summarize that part. So let me thank FoT for his persistence in organizing these things and his determination to make these concepts real and useful, and to, of course, provide endless entertainment for all of us. So thank you, FoT.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you very much.
Wait, you have another minute. You have another minute.
Do you want to sit here?
No. This is good. This is good. Somebody take a picture. All right.
Press the button.
No, Keith. Well, right. Okay. So here, this is really, I think today is very, very special, and it's got a lot to do with the last two presentations, and you kind of chewed out of that in a way. And that is, so yesterday, some of us, we were having a barbecue. If you weren't invited, sorry. It's because I didn't know you were here, right? But we'll have more barbecues. And I was outside with Leon, and I burnt my hair. Right? I burnt a thin
hair on fire.
Hair on fire.
Yeah,
right?
well, we knew that about you all along.
But there is a point to this. So I burnt a thin line of hair, and for the entire evening, nobody noticed. Right? And then I was brushing my teeth. It's like, what in the world is that? Even my wife didn't notice. And for this weekend, I've really been trying, because I'm editing my pieces, been trying to look at a lot of text to have a big, beautiful display. You're the one who helped me get it, because you say VR is almost like a display. So the human eye is not trained to stare. Like I'm looking at you now, that is abnormal. Unless there's a really good reason, we don't do that. Our eyes dart around a lot, right? So the fact that no one noticed this line of singe made me really realize that. So we're talking about audio in different forms. When you're talking about all these different aspects, I'm so grateful for that, because finally in history, we have an opportunity to actually build them together, right? So your kaleidoscope is wonderful. And I hope we can have that as the theme of today, to try to have more kaleidoscopic thinking. So thank you very, very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
I'm it's based on structure.
I was thinking of sharing my screen with this computer and showing that. The only problem is my phone is important. I just want to this. No, but we can show Keith's screen over there. So my recording.
Okay, fine. Well, yeah, okay, fine. Then you just push mine to the side and set yourself up. I'll be back in one second.
Yes. No, because no. So the thing is that I have the application I want to show in this computer. So it's not a presentation. So basically, I need to share the screen. I'm going to share the screen. But you maybe just there. Okay. So
the mic and the sound.
Oh, this is okay.
You can put your laptop here.
Okay.
So there's camera. You can see. We'll sit in the meeting. Good to go. So it's deliberately low because if you're dealing with people who don't, as you say, you're dealing in the stories of people who don't don't mind that can be a really interesting bridge. Because the tendency of technologies,
Yeah. And it's like stuff that requires quite a lot of data.
but even just, but also even if you think of
Yeah.
it's interesting because I don't have a long. You're treating a law by putting paperwork, reducing to
Yeah.
yeah. To try and capture some of the riches. But it's it seems to do you want to see here? Because it's an interactive presentation. This yes. Having a picture. So what I'm doing, what I did is I share my screen on the Zoom presentation. So there's a camera in the front. So I'm thinking you know, we got it more of it, or it's not enough. Understanding what trying to you now you maybe less from like broadcasting. Yep, we're ready.
Okay, we're ready to move on.
I'm here, so
Tubes, right.
I've been like diseased for the last couple of days. So
Everybody stay away from.
I'm here, over here, I'm in that quarantine, so
Okay, so yeah, everybody takes.
So well,